Hello and welcome to Research Academy's YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss the strategy for covering IPR and labor law for CLAT PG exam. So as you guys are already aware that CLAT PG has almost 13 plus very bulky subjects in the syllabus like Constitution, Contract Law, IPC, CRPC, Evidence Law, Property Law, Jurisprudence, PIL, etc. So it is obviously not possible to cover all these subjects in great detail, and it is also not a wise strategy to do that because not every subject has the same importance or weightage. So obviously you need to learn how to cover areas which are less frequently asked and which are very vast in nature that it is not possible to cover them entirely for this very important competitive exam. So if you're looking for a strategy or a shortcut to cover IPR and labor law, do watch this video to understand how you can do that. So firstly, we'll start with shortcut to intellectual property rights, that is IPR. So as you guys know that IPR is sometimes tested in CLAT PG. For example, in the 2023 CLAT PG examination, they did ask a few questions on IPR. So they were very basic questions. Of course, the level of questions was not very high. But if you would have left IPR in your entirety, then you would have not been able to attempt this part. So to avoid such a situation wherein you don't know anything about a subject, it is wiser to know something that is very relevant to that subject for CLAT PG exam. So firstly, we'll discuss the do's and don'ts. So firstly, you should only refer to one good source. So it has to be a very concise source. So you can use an LLM guide because LLM guides have specifically areas of these exams which are frequently tested. So if you buy a LLM guide, you will see that they will have very short, brief, good notes on IPR. So you are only supposed to cover that much. If you don't want to refer to an LLM guide, you can also take help of a coaching if you want, so that you can have access to good, brief notes which are relevant for CLAT PG exam. Then you also have to refer to the Bare Act, but in a very limited way only. So only limited sections of the Bare Act which have been emphasized in your guide have to be read from the Bare Act, and you have to know only the classic landmark cases. So since IPR is very huge and there are, of course, a lot of important judgments on a lot of important points, you are only required to know the very, very important ones, which again your LLM guide or your coaching notes will help to identify. Next, because CLAT PG exam tests your knowledge of recent legal events or recent case laws, so do follow legal developments and recent case laws on IPR as you will follow for other subjects as well, because these are the areas which will determine what might possibly come in your exam based on what is recently in news. Now coming to a few don'ts, do not refer to commentaries, especially for IPR or any other bulky subject like IPR, labor law, taxation, company law, because that will be counterproductive. Do not read the whole Bare Act without knowing the relevance, because there are a few subjects in which the Bare Act is very important, such as the Constitution or the CRPC or the Evidence Law or Contracts Act. Now these are subjects in which Bare Act is everything. But so far as IPR is concerned from a competitive exam point of view, you do not have to read the whole Bare Act without knowing which sections are relevant and which are not. Lastly, do not try to cover all landmark cases on all points, because even though they may still be very important cases for a competitive exam like CLAT, they may not be useful. Take help of non-traditional sources. So because these are very bulky subjects, it is advisable that you do a smart preparation instead of devoting a lot of time to subjects like these which are not very frequently tested, and even if they are tested at a very easy to moderate level. So you can take help of good online articles or blogs to clarify your concept. For example, if you want to know what are the basic requirements for a patent, then you may simply Google that and find good online articles in which you will also get to know, let's say, the important sections related to patents, the important case laws on patents, and if there has been any recent development or not. Next, you can also take help of non-traditional sources like YouTube channels. Lastly, you can also refer to MCQs or practice questions or mock tests specifically on IPR, so as to save your time and not go into the details of it, but still attempt a few questions which may be asked in the exam as well. Now coming to a few important topics on IPR. So this list is not exhaustive. Of course, you will get a much clearer picture from your LLM guide or from your coaching notes as to what are the important concepts in IPR that you need to know. But I think these are a few areas which you should definitely cover. For example, what is IPR? What are the different types of IPR? And why is IPR protection given? So what is the objective of IPR? Then you need to know the individual ingredients of different IPRs, such as what is a copyright, what is patent, what is trademark, what is GI, etc. Next, you need to know how can third parties use these IPRs. So you have to learn about the ways of assignment, how to license, etc. in IPR. Then you need to know the remedies for infringement, both common law remedies and statutory remedies available. And lastly, you need to know the important international instruments as exist on IPR. Now let's come to how to approach labor law. So as you guys know that labor law is very huge. There were so many legislations on labor law, and with the recent modification to labor law, we have different codes now. So starting from 2020, we do have a changed legal position in which, of course, that amounts to a lot of bulky syllabus for CLAT as well. So naturally, it is not possible for you to cover the whole thing. That will be very counterproductive. So for labor law, because it has been asked a few times, but it is not worth the effort to read the whole thing just on the possibility that 6 or 10 questions may come from it, which is a very distant possibility otherwise. So how to cover labor law, considering it is even vaster than IPR? So there are a few do's and don'ts. First is refer to one concise source. So I will here not advise you to go through the bare act, even the important sections, because the bare acts can be very tricky to navigate in labor law. So it will be better for you to only refer to an LLM guide or brief coaching notes and just stick to that. Next, only follow legal developments or recent cases on labor law and just understand what are the issues that have recently been in the news. It is not advisable to go through the bare act and understand different aspects of labor law, because even though it may be a good exercise in understanding labor law, it may not be beneficial for CLAT PG exam. Now, a few don'ts: do not refer to commentaries. Reading the bare act may be counterproductive, and don't devote too much time to covering this subject, because the subject is huge and the number of questions that may be asked, and that too depends on chance, is very, very low. So devoting too much time to labor law is not the right strategy for CLAT. Again, take help of non-traditional sources like good online articles, YouTube channels, and most importantly, practice questions, because you cannot possibly read everything in labor law, but you can definitely practice, let's say, 200, 300 questions on labor law, which will efficiently cover the kind of questions that can be asked from this subject. Remember, few questions may come or may not come from IPR and labor law. It depends on chance, because if you look at the past 4-year papers, then IPR and labor law have not always been tested. So there are very few instances where they have been asked. So it is not important for you to cover them entirely in detail, but it is not smart to cover them in entirety, but it is also not smart to leave them in entirety. So you can refer to only one LLM guide or good coaching notes and very selected recent cases to prepare for this exam. Lastly, we do have a course going on for CLAT PG examination. We have foundation and growth hack batches for 2024 and 2025. So if you're interested, do visit our website or call on the number given on your screens to know more about this. If you like this video, please like and share and subscribe to our YouTube channel.